Well, it's one of those older people in their 50s. I just want to say it's great to be here, and it's great to be on the board, Roger. I was very excited to be asked to join the board, and I've enjoyed the brief time so far. I spoke at one of the very first AFF chapter meetings in Chicago, right when I got involved in the Illinois Policy Institute. My background has been mostly in business most of my life, and in 2000, did a little bit of public policy and political activism work from 2004 through 2006 and into 2007, which I refer to as my apprenticeship years. But in 2007, I got involved in Illinois, trying to build a pro-free market, pro-liberty movement in Illinois. And an AFF chapter popped up right about that same time, and many of our initial employees were part of AFF. And so I spoke at a bar. I know it comes as a shock. The meeting was at a bar. And so I immediately said yes when I found that out, that I would attend. And I'd just driven back from Springfield, and it was interesting to come from the state capital 200 miles away and arrive in Chicago, and there were all these young people in their 20s, millennials, and my first thought was I should just apologize. I am so sorry what the baby boom generation has done to you, and I'm so glad that AFF is here to try to fix our mistakes. It is daunting. How many of you like science fiction? Anybody here read science fiction? I loved science fiction. I read a lot more when I was younger. I think of AFF and the chapters out around the country a little bit like space colonists, going out into these foreign worlds where the progressive mindset is dominant in places like Chicago or Detroit or anywhere really in urban America where progressive thought dominates every aspect of life. Pittsburgh may be one of the few exceptions where you have a large city that still is fairly competitive. I think of AFF chapters as sort of these really pioneering colonists trying to infiltrate the native thinking that is going on in those places. And then we were sort of like that in Chicago. The belly of the beast, literally, where Obama came from. And it is very interesting watching the evolution in Illinois, in Chicago, and I think AFF is no small part of that. There's a whole emphasis on the work we do trying to reach out to people, particularly in the tech community, in their 20s and 30s. And we've had very good success with that. And AFF was really sort of the nexus or the nucleus of that when we first started doing that. Our No Cronies campaign that Ryan Green runs for us has been really effective at creating an issue that has crossover appeal, not just to people that would sit in this room, but to people who are unaffiliated or maybe even voted for Obama in a previous election, or maybe when they were in high school they voted for Obama in some faux election back in 2008. And I really think that the work that AFF does at the chapter level is essential, because we really have to bring our ideas and have the courage to sell our ideas in a way that is persuasive to all of our peer groups, but especially the millennials in urban America. And so I think that's why the chapter program matters. That's one of the reasons I was initially a donor to start the Atlanta chapter and continue to fund a few things on a very modest basis, but nevertheless I think it's important work. And I think expanding the chapters is a worthy goal, and the way I see this is AFF is part of a larger movement. And in fact, one thing I would encourage you all to think is think bigger. Don't think just in terms of a $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 annual budget for your chapter if you're involved in a chapter in a city across the country. What could you do that is even more expansive, more amazing? Use your imagination. Millennials are well known to have excellent imaginations. What could you do that would attract people that I like to call, from a point of view of Red Rover? How many of you played Red Rover as a kid? Now, see, we're getting to the point now where some of you will not have played Red Rover. That's how time passes. But you might remember the game, Red Rover, let Roger come over to our team. And the goal is to get everybody on one side. Well, the progressives are doing that relentlessly. And we need to do this with these chapters, particularly in urban city centers all across the country. So I really think that our success that we've had in Illinois, did you all hear that the state of Illinois, a good proxy of success is elections, and Illinois elected a Republican governor. About 240,000 people who are Democrats voted for that Republican governor, and it shows that people are not static, that people can be persuaded. And they get persuaded primarily through individual relationships, group associations, and socialization. And that really is the essence of what an AFF chapter is about. These relationships happen one at a time. I became a libertarian because of a friendship in college that blossomed, and I opened my mind to new ideas, and over the course of my lifetime I learned and eventually decided to get involved in the movement. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that the AFF chapters are a little like, colonists out there trying to take these ideas of the progressives and You sort of infiltrate and convert them to the pro-free market, pro-liberty point of view. So now I'm going to use another analogy. You're familiar with the idea of good bacteria and bad bacteria in our bodies, biologically? There's good bacteria and bad bacteria. Progressivism is bad bacteria. Freedom and liberty is good bacteria, and chapters of AFF are good bacteria. And we need them to propagate individually within a chapter in a city, as well as nationally across the country. And then the country and freedom will become healthier. And in order to do that, you need leaders. So how many of you are based here in DC? So almost all of you are based here in DC. How many of you are from around the country? Okay, oh no, it's actually about 50-50 as it turns out. So as you think about this, whether you're in DC, I think DC is so unique. There's such a concentration of resources in DC. There's so many, you could do something every day, I'm sure, here, right? And go and attend something. This is not true in the states where, in the cities where AFF chapters are. It is often the only choice, or if you have a think tank that happens to be in that city and they work well together, as most do, you'll have some, a couple of choices. But if you're in DC, think about what you can do to provide leadership to friends and associates, colleagues that you may have around the country, to start an AFF chapter, to get involved in an AFF chapter that already exists, and be that LinkedIn networker who puts people together. And if you are out in the country, think about what you can do to think big, provide leadership, and propagate that good bacteria so that we can knock off that progressive bacteria that is so, so unhealthy. Thank you.